Hi, my name is Christian Busch. I am teaching at New York University and at the London School of Economics. And at NYU, I am running the Global Economy Program, which is all about the question, how can companies get fit for the future? And what are the kind of mindsets that we all need to thrive in this fast changing world? Well, the reason I'm doing this is I had an experience early on in life, near-death experience, that made me realize how quickly life can be over. And it took me on this intense search for meaning, trying to figure out what is life all about. And what I realized I enjoy doing the most is connecting ideas, connecting people, and then somehow initiating meaningful change. And so in my life as entrepreneur, social entrepreneur, consultant, and then later as educator and researcher, what I found fascinating is that the most successful, inspiring, joyful people, they have something in common, which is that they intuitively cultivate serendipity. They see something in the unexpected, and then they connect the dots and turn that into something positively unexpected. And so that got me really excited about the question, is there a science-based framework for cultivating this smart luck? And how can we leverage this for organizations in order to be innovative and to have an impact? Well, two ways to cultivate serendipity are one, the hook strategy, and another one is asking questions differently. The hook strategy is all about saying, if someone asks us this dreaded, what do you do question that we get at every conference, instead of just us saying something like, I'm a consultant or I'm an entrepreneur, we can instead somehow try to see the couple of dots that allow the other person to connect the dots for us. So there's a wonderful entrepreneur in London, Ollie Barrett, and if you would ask this wonderful entrepreneur, what do you do? He would say something like, I'm a technology entrepreneur, recently started reading into the philosophy of science, but what I'm really excited about is playing the piano. What he did here is he's giving us three potential hooks where we could be like, oh my God, such a coincidence. My sister is teaching on the philosophy of science. You should give a guest lecture. Oh my God, such a coincidence. We are hosting piano matinees. You should stop by. The point is we can leverage every interaction, every conversation to bring in a couple of points of interest that we have and then let the other person connect the dots with us. And then the second one is really around the way of how we ask questions. Do we ask something like the dreaded what do you do question, or do we ask things such as what do you enjoy doing? Something that in a way allows us to understand more about the person, their real interests and motivations, and then really connect with them in some meaningful ways. Of course, there's a lot of other ways, but I think those two are the ones we can use in day-to-day interactions. Well, three ways are, one is really around practices and processes, and really the idea that if our values are around playfulness, creativity, innovation, you name it, what is the day-to-day practice that allows us to do that? Is it that we ask in meetings from time to time, what surprised you? In this example of a company I've been working with in China, they produce washing machines, refrigerators, and they had calls from farmers. And the farmers called them up and they said, well, your washing machine is always breaking down. Well, why is the washing machine breaking down? Well, we're trying to wash our potatoes in it, but it doesn't seem to work. And so what did they do? Instead of just saying, oh my God, we have to educate the customer and tell them to not wash their potatoes in there, they said, you know what, that's unexpected. But there's probably a lot of farmers in China who have a problem in that department. So why don't we build in a dirt filter and make it a potato washing machine? And that's how unexpectedly so the potato washing machine emerged. And that's how up to 50% of innovations and inventions emerge. But they are more likely to emerge if we have a culture where people ask, what surprised you? Oh, farmers were washing their potatoes. Interesting, let's do something with it. We can integrate that question into our weekly or daily meetings, right? What surprised you? Is there something that questions our assumptions? So that's really kind of practices that we can work on. Another one really is mindset. And how do we help people develop a serendipity mindset where they look at every situation and they don't see the constraints, but instead they try to understand, is there some kind of meaning in there? Is there some kind of opportunity in there? And can I reframe that situation? And then the third one really is a leadership question. How do we legitimize that the unexpected is part of our plan? instead of trying to, in a world that's full of change and full of ambiguity, try to pretend that we have it all figured out. How do we instead give people a sense of direction, but at the same time, make the unexpected part of our plan? And by doing that, legitimize that people can come up with unexpected ideas. I think there's two major things that leaders can do. One is to really work deeply on their own biases and the things that might hold them back. We've all been in situations where we might be in a meeting and we have this brilliant idea, but we don't raise it because we might not feel ready, or there might be the inner imposter in there, or the fear of rejection, those kind of things. And so I'm a big fan of really saying, let's reflect on those incidences in our life where serendipity could have happened. So where we saw an opportunity in the moment, but we didn't act on it. And what is the underlying pattern there? Is there something behind that we can work on? Is it fear of rejection? Is it imposter syndrome? You name it, and really kind of diving deep into that. And then the second is really saying, okay, how do we develop a mindset that allows me to make the unexpected my ally, to make the unexpected part of my plans, rather than seeing it as a threat? And so that really comes to developing that serendipity mindset that dives deep into the question of how can I, in my day-to-day also, use small practices such as the hook strategy, asking questions differently, and so on, to really make it part of my day-to-day routine that serendipity happens, but also then to have filters that allow me to take those ideas that make the most sense and discard those that don't make sense. Well, I've dedicated the next 5 years of my life to taking the content of the serendipity mindset that I've seen work in so many different contexts, from social entrepreneurs in Kenya to the CEOs, big companies, to people that developed, got their internships out of high school, and take that content and really say, how do we get that into as many educational curricula, companies, organizations, policies as we can, to really scale that mindset and to really turn the unexpected and uncertainty from something that gives us anxiety, that gives us that sense of imperfection, to something that becomes part of who we are, how we are in the world, and gives that kind of joy that can come from it, and really then hopefully contributes to this world in a way that gets people closer together and connects them rather than keeps them apart.